Thanks so much for coming. I have been learning counseling and coaching over the past probably about 10 years. I've taken a variety of courses and seminars in those subjects. And one area that I found especially interesting and relevant in applying to our Krishna consciousness is the human needs psychology that's kind of taken the studies and analysis and evidence-based research of many psychologists and thinkers and seekers from around the world and condensed all of that into these kind of sutras that teach us and enable us to go deeper into understanding what the core needs of every human being is. So whether you're a street sweeper or a princess in a palace or anything in between, universally every human being shares 6 core needs. Before I go any further, because normally this is like a 6-hour seminar, this into a PowerPoint presentation, and a lot of the information is on each slide. So what we'll do is read the slides, take them. I'm not really exactly sure how to expect this to go in terms of the timing, because normally we have ample time for reflection and for breaking up into partners and also personal work so that you can apply and culminate what I'm sharing with you into your own life and see how it works. I'm not really sure how that's going to go in this short amount of time. So it's a little bit of an experiment. So thanks for bearing with me and participating in the experiment. So I'm going to, instead of just speaking off the cuff, I'm really going to try and stick to the slides. And then as we go, we can open it up for questions and discussion. And if we get through all the needs today, then tomorrow we can do more of that practicum, that work on ourselves, breaking up into groups and partners and that self-reflection work. And maybe we'll even get to it today. So let's see how we go. So is everybody on board with that? Okay, great. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so the 6 human needs are certainty or security, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. If anybody's interested in this PowerPoint, I can email it to you. I can definitely send it to you so you don't have to feel conflicted right now between watching and hearing and taking notes, and also screenshots are always good with your phone. But I realize this is quite small. So needs, not desires. All humans have inherent universal human needs, not desires, wants or wishes, which we seek to fulfill every day. From a migrant worker to a royal prince, everyone has the same fundamental human needs. They are the driving force behind human behavior. They underlie and inspire the choices we make and actions we take. They will manifest differently on the physical, emotional, or spiritual level. And as we advance, the nature of these needs becomes more transcendental. Satisfying these needs. Individually, we find different ways of satisfying these needs. We can meet them in either positive or negative ways. Positive ways are empowering. Negative ways are disempowering. Ideally, we should satisfy needs in ways that are good for us, good for others, and good for society. Vehicles. And I'll explain more about this later. So you'll probably have a big question mark after I read this. Vehicles are the ways and means that you use to fulfill your needs. They take you to a destination and produce an outcome. So we'll get back to this. We'll definitely explain what the vehicles are. So here's number one, certainty. And they it's almost like a pyramid. So you could consider certainty and security and significance, thank you, sort of as the bottom rungs of the pyramid. And as you go up, it culminates in a higher level of needs. What they say is the first four are the needs of the self, or the personality, of the conditioned soul, you could say. And then the last two needs are the needs of the spirit. And those, of course, are the things that Srila Prabhupada brought to us, contribution and growth. But they're all connected, so as we go, you'll see how. So certainty. Certainty is a survival need. It is built into our nervous system. We can't function well without it. We need to be certain that things will go a specific way. Certainty constitutes such things as, and maybe we can have people take turns reading them so everybody can stay with me on this. So just as you want, anybody, male, female, young, old.
I can experience pleasure and avoid pain.
I know that my home will be waiting for me at the end of the day.
My neighbor won't harm me.
That the sun will rise in the morning.
Feeling comfortable and safe in my relationships.
Medical treatment is available if I need it.
Right. So they're just the basic needs of the human being. And if you're not having a certain level of certainty, it's really hard to focus on anything. It's very difficult. So these are just the basics. Everybody can relate to this, I'm sure. Code words for certainty: comfort, security, safety, stability, feeling grounded, predictability, and protection.
Can you give some examples?
We just did in the first one.
Of our own?
Pardon?
Can we give examples of our own?
You'd like to give examples now?
I was just thinking.
Sure.
That lunch will be ready at 1 o'clock. How's that practical?
Yeah.
Because someone might think, oh, I don't have all these needs for security, but you actually do. No. Another one, the roof won't cave in. Yeah, you don't think about it, but the plane's going to make it, and these things.
Thank you. Code words for certainty. Oh, I just did that. Okay, so now there are positive ways to meet our needs and negative ways to meet our needs. And here are some positive ways. Getting a secure job and having a decent income to take care of my family. Having a stable marriage. Not getting married. You can see how that would also be certain, right? Both are certain. It just depends on the person. Have an exercise routine. Care for and educate your children. Living in a safe neighborhood. Having good, steady sadhana. Taking shelter of Guru. Studying Srila Prabhupada's books. So these are all positive ways of getting certainty. Can anybody think of another way in their own life or in any other person's life of a positive way to achieve certainty? Yes?
Well, there's family and Andean culture. They can provide for fulfilling many of these needs. In other words, we have that security of having loved ones.
Absolutely. Anything else?
I think especially if you're a leader, you depend on people. If they say they're going to do something, that they'll do it. That's a kind of security, isn't it?
certainty.
Trust,
Mhm.
trust. You know,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Ask you to do something, you can do it. Yeah,
Accountability, dependability, reliability.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say to have the association of reliable people is a very good way to
Yes. That is really good, and it comes up later too in other needs. That choosing good association, reliable people, reliable association is a great way to have certainty. Thank you.
Making plans. Like, you know, let's say next year you'll be coming back doing this, or next year you'll be
Yeah.
doing something.
Planning ahead or making plans. Really good. Yeah. You had one? Sure? Okay. Okay, great. So we'll go on. Now, negative ways to get certainty. Hoarding money or material possessions. Being with people you can control, people who are weaker or less intelligent. Believing nothing works and making sure it doesn't work. So that would be like a belief and a mindset, like Mahatma Prabhu was talking about earlier. Not solving a problem you could solve. Maintaining a destructive relationship or avoiding relationships. Maintaining a bad habit. Unhealthy codependency, depending too much on another. 16 bad rounds. So is anybody here, you don't have to put up your hand, but is anybody here guilty of using these as ways to achieve certainty? Yes, I think most of us, myself, yeah, absolutely.
I have a question, sorry. How does, for example, not solving a problem you could solve give somebody certainty, even in a negative way?
It's like a mindset or a belief system, and then you're just stuck in it. And you know that you don't have to get out of your comfort zone. You know you don't have to try something new or challenge yourself or do something hard because you've convinced yourself that this is the way it is and this is the way it will always be. And that's comforting. The thing is, people do very unhealthy things and experience a lot of comfort from it. Drug addicts, addiction is a way to achieve certainty. Overeating is a way to achieve certainty. All kinds of addictive behaviors, people do it because they know they'll do it and they'll get a feeling from it. It's not a good feeling, or maybe it's good in the beginning and then it feels awful. But it's like the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. It's lower modes of behavior, but they know they're going to get something from it. And there's something comforting. Even people who come from abusive homes and backgrounds, when they grow up, they'll often enter an abusive relationship. I think studies show that especially women who have been abused by their fathers, they'll often marry a man who is abusive. It's comfortable, it's familiar, and they feel a kind of certainty from it. But these are kinds of things that are negative. Make sense?
Can I add something?
Yes.
I think it's the predictability aspect of it. You know the outcome, so you know what's going to happen. You're so scared to do something different because you don't know what it's going to look like. But at least with the abusive relationship, you know you're going to be abused and you know how to cope with it.
That's right. She's right, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's
Do we
very...
think of some more? I think this is, I'm getting a lot out of this dysfunctional part.
Okay.
Because I think we're all pretty dysfunctional in some way.
All right.
I think we're all dysfunctional in some way, and we don't normally think like there's security in dysfunction. So,
Yeah.
Do you have some more examples of dysfunction?
Well,
Dysfunctional ways?
I mean, we could do a 5-minute break into partners and everybody could share something they do with their partner that they feel is an unhealthy way to meet the need of certainty. Would you like to do that? I don't have any on my mind, but... Pardon?
I was just thinking,
Yeah.
just ask somebody if they think of,
Yeah.
think of other I just find it helpful for me personally.
Well, I can think of actually something. There was a couple, and they were having a lot of problems in their marriage. And, long story short, the woman, for her, certainty was just so important. And the way she was getting her certainty, the way she had decided certainty had to be met, was by her husband coming home every day at a certain time and, bringing in a certain amount of money for the income and, behaving with the children a certain way. And none of that was happening, not because he was being neglectful, but because his job was putting bigger demands on him. They requiring that he stayed later at work, and he had a pay cut, and that caused a lot of stress between the couple and then just the whole interaction as family. And so she was so unhappy and so upset with her husband, and she kind of just blamed him for everything because she wasn't getting her needs for certainty met in the rules that she set up for herself. And so this was during my training, I got to see an intervention between one of my coaches, my mentors, work with this couple who had been having problems for years, and he helped solve their issues very quickly, and even showed them years later how they'd been able to keep things resolved. But he helped her see how the rules that she set for gaining certainty were ruining her life because they weren't available. So as soon as she was able to see that, she could then make an adjustment and change. It's kind of related to what you were saying earlier, her understanding of how she could get her needs for certainty met. So she just changed her expectations and she changed her rules. So instead of her husband having to come home at 6, he could come home at 8. And instead of for him having to put them to bed, the kids to bed every night, he would just do it on the weekends. And instead of her greeting him like, "You're late," she greeted him like, "Oh, I'm so happy you made it home today." And so everything shifted because she was able to shift that vision of what certainty was for her.
Sometimes negative things could be overachieving, where you have higher expectations than you can really meet. And like for example, if I ask you to give a donation of $50, that's feasible. But if I say, could you give $10,000, you're not going to give anything because it's so ridiculous, it's so beyond your means that it's just disempowering you. There's no way you can achieve that, so it's just beyond your limits, and therefore you get discouraged to do anything. So sometimes people have too much expectations, not realizing what their limits are, or the limits of people who surround them, burn people out because they expect so much of these people. And these people say, well, I can't accomplish that, it's ridiculous, so they leave, or they disengage themselves. So that could be a negative thing.
Very negative. And it also brings up the point, which we'll get into later, is that so right now you're probably reading this and going through this and sort of going through it in your own mind, thinking, oh, certainty for me, what does that mean? How do I meet it positive? How do I meet it negative? To take it a step further, the reason this is such a helpful exercise is that when you begin to learn what these needs mean to the people in your lives, whether it's your parents or your children or your spouse or the people you share an ashram with or the people that you do service with, and you can key into what their needs are and how you can meet them best, then things really change in the relationships and in the whole dynamics of the group. So it's a very good point. Yes. Cora, and then...
I have a question. This third point. Believing nothing works and making sure it doesn't work. So I can understand how when Srila Prabhupada said cynicism means a loss of faith. So if one is seeing has experienced in their community, say community of devotees, that no matter how many times they've tried to create community, or have communication, it doesn't work. You know, people have got their own idea. They don't want to hear anyone else's idea. I'm just wondering how, because of that cynicism, is that what causes someone to make sure it doesn't work? Because I'm trying to understand the psychology behind it. Is it because, well, it's always been that way, so it's always going to be that way? Things are never, I'm trying to understand.
Well, I think what you're talking about are things that are really outside of the control of the individual. So when we're referring to making sure nothing works, believing nothing works, and making sure it's things within your control, things that you have influence about. So what the temple does is outside of any organization, and you're not involved directly in helping to make it happen, or even maybe if you are directly involved in helping, but there's so much outside of what you can control and outside of the outcome that you can control. So this is more really in relationship to what you can control. Does that make sense? No, I don't think you fully... Yeah, go ahead.
What you say is true. What I have observed, this is what I think. Let's say I'm very critical of the GBC body. I don't want them to succeed because that would prove me wrong. So I'm hoping that they fail because that will prove me right. Because I'm always criticizing them. And so the only way to maintain my certainty is that they keep failing because I keep criticizing them. And so I kind of want them to fail. I think. Bhakti Mark Swami, do you know people like that? You with a few zeros after that?
It also could mean that it's going to take me out of my comfort zone, you know, because if there is success, I'm going to be asked to be involved in that success, and it's going to be demanding on me, and I don't particularly want to do that. I don't know if I'll even succeed, or other people will succeed and I won't, and therefore I'll go bad. So therefore, I'd rather nothing succeeds, because it's going to expose me as not being as expert or as good as I thought I was.
Right.
Right. So there's a loss there on my behalf. I might lose something. Now I think I'm a great guy and I've got it together, and you know, everyone else is not so good, but if they get better than me, then I'm going to look bad.
So this gets addressed and hopefully resolved as we go through the other needs. So it's good that you brought it up, but I don't think we can go any further with it at this point. But let's see. I think it's going to come up again, and you'll see how it fits into the bigger picture. And I'm going to take one more question, and then we definitely need to go on. Okay. Okay.
I was just going to give a simple example. If you
Please.
finding it hard to attend like the early morning program, but you can't wake up in the morning, it's too difficult, but at the same time you go to bed at like at midnight. So you're making sure that you're not going to make it. So you're doing everything in your possibility not to make things happen.
Very
Without
good.
knowing, you don't do it on purpose, it just...
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we are on the second need now. It's called variety, also known as uncertainty. The pleasure and excitement that comes from variety is necessary to feel alive. Variety is the spice of life. Without variety, we become bored. Imagine working on an assembly line 16 hours a day. We require excitement, suspense, surprise. We need variety that challenges us spiritually, emotionally, and physically. If we were absolutely certain about how everything will go now and in the future, life would be predictably boring. Yes?
Srila Prabhupada stated in one letter that it's the duty of the leader, can't remember if he said temple president or a GBC, to always be giving a fresh challenge to the devotees. So that's what that reminds me of.
That is nice. And then we have a nice quote from Prabhupada here as well. In my room, I have a mridanga, so I play it for a while. When I get tired of that, I do some translation. When I finish with that, I sing a song on the harmonium. Then I have correspondence to do. I have one activity after another, all connected to Krishna. Read the whole thing again?
Okay, I'll get tomorrow.
I'll send you the quote. Code words for uncertainty: adventure, learning experiences, fear, instability, change, chaos, entertainment, suspense, exertion, surprise, conflict, crisis. We shall explain. Positive ways to meet the need for variety. Travel. Do the same thing in a different way. Connecting with new people. Learning a new skill. Studying something new. Attending festivals. Cooking new items for the deities or making them new outfits. Going on pilgrimage. Opening a new center. Negative ways to meet the need for variety. Have an extramarital affair, engage in watch pornography, use drugs or alcohol, create drama, crisis, problems in your life, have bad relationships, internet surfing, playing with Maya, bad association, gossiping, criticizing, spreading rumors. Okay, any questions on this?
So, we have hopeful and negative ways for each need, right? So, for example, is there a way to transform negative into positive, and what could that be? Like, what are the steps to do that?
That's a good question. So, you can either give it up and replace it with something positive, or maybe transform it. I'm not sure. Can anyone think of an example of how you would take a negative activity and turn it into something positive?
For example, we've been discussing the last point, like gossiping, criticizing, spreading rumors.
Yes.
Like, how can these people
Okay.
turn into something positive?
I can give you a good answer for that one. I was just talking about it yesterday with somebody.
Could you just say that again?
So the last negative statement about gossiping, criticizing, and spreading rumors. So everybody loves to talk, right? People love to talk, and people love to talk about, when we don't have a really strong taste for talking about Krishna's pastimes, we talk about other people's pastimes. And when we suffer from things like envy or other negative, lower, behaviors, then we often criticize them or talk about them in less than flattering ways. It's gramya kata, and most people suffer from it at some point in their life. Some people make a career of it, hence, the internet. But some people do it in a more private way, but we all do it sometimes. So, what do you do with the desire to talk about people or talk about things, and you don't have a taste for Krishna's Leela, or you don't even know that much about Krishna's, or whatever, we're conditioned souls. So what do you do? Or what do you do when you see people talking in a negative way, in a gossipy, critical, spreading rumor way? So one technique is to tell them how the talking makes them feel. So I'll give you a little example. You walk into a room and there's a couple of devotees, and they're nice devotees, they're your friends perhaps, and they're saying negative things about other people, and you just can immediately feel the energy just very low, and you feel very contaminated. So one thing you can do, of course, is walk away. One thing you can do is criticize them, but of course if you do that, you're going to upset them, and you're not actually going to turn it into a positive experience. So what you can do is tell them how the discussion is making you feel. So this topic, for instance, this conversation is making me feel really uncomfortable. This topic's making me feel really sad or uncomfortable. I would love it if we could just change the subject and talk about something uplifting. Or so basically you're saying how the situation makes you feel and what you would like to do to make it better. So let's not talk about this anymore. That's a negative. You say a positive. Can we talk about this instead? Can we talk about what they did do right? Do you understand where I'm going with this? So how you feel, and respectfully request what you would like to turn the conversation into instead. So that's how you could address a gossipy, criticizey, spreading rumory situation that you find yourself in and you don't know what to do about it. Do you find that helpful?
Yeah, and will that satisfy the need for...
Like, will that meet the need for variety? Because I understand that that's the way they're trying to
Yeah.
meet the need, right?
Right.
But if we change the topic.
It will meet it, because just like Mahatma Prabhu was saying in his class a little bit earlier, that one of the best highlights of all the workshops of all the retreats he does is when he does that exercise with the devotees where they get to glorify each other and compliment each other. And it immediately uplifts everyone and makes them feel very deeply satisfied.
It's variety because we never do it. Appreciation is variety.
I would think another way is to say, well, you've got some grievances, you've got some complaints or whatever, but I'm not the person to be hearing this. Why don't you address the person who's involved or did this, or maybe we should go and meet that person, hear his side of the story, or let's bring an authority who can do something about it. I'm just a, bottom of the totem pole here. I can't really do much, so you're kind of wasting your time telling me all this, but let's go and meet someone who could do something, and I can maybe introduce you to that person, or I can support you in that way, but other than that, we're just wasting our time here.
Yeah, it depends on the relationships of the individuals. So if they come to you with the complaints, then that would be an appropriate response. But if you're in with a bunch of peers and they just start the jibber jabber, or even maybe they're younger, well, maybe not younger, but they're peers, and you don't have the kind of relation where you could say, hey, let's go, or they might resent that, or they're seniors to you, then you just have to be humble and respectful, but express your needs in a way that you, if nothing else, you cut the conversation off, you cut that energy, you stop that, and you haven't offended anybody in the process, if nothing else, because you haven't made them feel, you haven't criticized them, you've told them how it's making you feel, and you're just stating a request.
I have a good one. There's pizza and ice cream downstairs and it's almost gone, let's go.
That's really good if it really is pizza and ice cream.
And we get down and go, oh, bummer, it's all gone. Okay, let's go back to work.
Yeah, having a sense of humor is always a good thing. Lightening things up can do wonders. Yeah.
There's a principle, if you see something that's harmful or bad and you don't do anything about it, you sort of become complicit by neglect or by indifference. I don't know. But some situations are like you can't really improve the situation by butting in or getting involved. I don't know, sometimes you have to judge, if there's a possible positive outcome here or not.
Yeah, you do. You have to use some wisdom and discretion, for sure. But this is really for you. You can talk about what happens if other people are doing it, but are you doing it? So, when you see all these needs and how to meet them, negative, positive, and you're thinking about other people, that's okay, but really be applying it to yourself. How am I engaging in this? And if I am, how do I transform it into something positive? So you catch yourself and you go, oh, I shouldn't be talking about this person like that. Actually, let me rewind and, say something positive like that. Yeah, you can always hit the reset button and start over.
Later, tomorrow, I believe, or later today. Are we going to be looking at the needs the needs behind the needs that we're trying to fulfill? Like why, okay, I have the need for variety, but there must be something deeper. We're going to look at that?
If there's time, we will. Yeah, if there's time. I mean, this is a 6-hour seminar, and we don't have 6 hours, but we'll try. Yeah.
That's also part of the answer, like what you're
Yeah.
gossiping.
Yeah.
What need are you trying to
Yeah.
fulfill?
Well, let me say it like, let me give you a short answer. Everybody has different life phases. And depending on the life phase that you're in, there are going to be different needs that are more important to you than others. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I haven't even explained what all the 6 needs are. But for everybody, depending on, no matter what phase you're at in your life, there are going to be 2, what we call your 2 top needs. And of those 2, there's going to be 1 that's slightly above. And so if we can get through them, then everybody can have a little reflection time and start analyzing what are my 2 top needs and how am I filling them and why are those my needs. And then you get to analyze a little bit deeper. And you can look back on your life 10 or 15 years earlier and see that they're different. Sometimes we have inappropriate needs for the phase of life that we're in. For instance, let's say there's a family, right? So you've got this family man, and he's got a big family, he has a lot of responsibilities. And then his top need, because for most people, one of their top 2 needs is love and connection, which we'll get to shortly. But let's say his top one is variety. And so the way he likes to meet variety is these unhealthy ways, like maybe not the extramarital affair, but maybe he's into bungee jumping or skydiving or extreme sports where, anything could happen to him. His family has to be worried something could happen to him. And it's just really inappropriate for somebody in that phase of life to be going out and, driving fast cars or blah, 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 blah. So, you have to then go deeper and start to ask yourself, why is this need my top need? And how can I change it? And they can be adjusted. They can be adjusted. And that's really the thing. We do have that kind of control. And we'll get into that later. Okay, so I'm going to go on. So next one is significance. Every person needs to feel important, needed, and wanted. As babies, we all needed to feel that we were number 1. We all need to feel that our lives have meaning and purpose, that we make a difference being on the planet, and that our presence and service matters. We all need validation and acknowledgement. Code words for significance: healthy pride, importance, competition, rejection, valuable, validated, succeed, standard, achievement, performance. Positive ways to meet the need for significance: raising standards, providing, achieve, build, succeed at something, please guru or temple authorities, chant good rounds, have good sadhana, develop Vaishnava qualities, help someone become Krishna conscious. Negative ways to meet the need for significance: tear something or somebody down, be the worst at something, maintain a problem, kill in the name of God, bully or boss others around, get more titles, compare yourself to others, feel inferior or superior. Yes?
How do you prevent, if you go on to positive ways to meet significance, I think there was like achieve, build, or succeed at something, or please, temple authorities. So you want to do some sort of service. And so you have this intention of starting out something, and it's a positive way to be
of significance, but sometimes this can maybe turn into a negative way for certainty. So then your need to be significant at something and contribute then becomes your need to control. And so sometimes we see people, that are in a position, it doesn't have to be in temple, it can be in any organization, that are holding on really tightly, and they may not be the best person for that role. But at the end of the day, what started out as they were significant has become a really negative way for them to achieve certainty that they have a place in the organization. So how do you prevent that from taking place?
You have to teach them the 6 human needs. So they no, for real. I mean, they have to learn, people have to learn we call them vehicles. So we had that little slide about vehicle earlier. So, like building something, achieving something, that's like your vehicle for experiencing significance. And so you have to be aware of the vehicle that you're using and how you're actually using it. Are you using it in an unhealthy way or a healthy way? So that's why it's really nice to know what these needs are, choose good vehicles, and then be monitoring yourself or being mindful of how things are navigating their way in terms of your need for that, you're meeting that need. And if it's too high on your little levels there, then lowering the expectations.
I don't remember what the title was for when you listed comparing yourself to others. Oh, it was the negative ways to meet the need for significance by comparing yourself to others. So I remember as a young devotee in the Chicago temple seeing how the airport party would go to bed by 8, up at 2 o'clock, japa done before Mangal Artik, reading while everyone else was doing their job. While I was comparing myself to these, what I considered Maharatis, it really made me want to push and strive to become those devotees, and it was inspirational. There was an edge of competitiveness, and I wanted to be like them. But then after so many years have gone by, I've seen that comparing myself to others is a really great way to depress myself and get discouraged. So I just found that interesting, that at different phases in my life, what in comparing myself to others could have been very inspiring, and then later on when you see so many God brothers have achieved so much more, and they're so much more together and steady, and it's like, wow, am I retarded? Like, what's wrong with me?
Right, yeah. Yeah, so like Mahatma Prabhu pointed out earlier, we can be inspired by other people's achievements that we haven't achieved and see if we can get in on the action and how to do it and learn from them. But then at some point, we may have to just accept ourselves as who we are and be okay with that and accept ourselves and just honor that, whatever we can contribute. Because what we do is we tend to look at what we can't do instead of what we can do. Like, well, he does that and I can't do that. And he does that and I can't do that. And he does that and I can't do that. And he doesn't, all the great people. But what can I do? And then you focus in on what you can do instead of what you can't do, and you just become great at that. Make that your greatness, what you can do.
Sometimes people reflect more on the result rather than the activity itself. So I'm seeing this person, he's playing harmonium, he's getting all the attention. I'd love to do that, but I'm not intended to learn how to play harmonium. I just want the result because there's gratification, instant gratification, but I'm not really enjoying the process, So I want to become a pure devotee, but I don't want to do the process. I don't want to chant 16 rounds, I don't want to do all this. I just want to achieve what I think that would be great if I had all that prestige, all that process. So then, because I'm not going to do it, it gets demoralizing, it gets depressing.
Yeah, you're out of totally, if you think someone thinks that way, then they're just really out of alignment with Spirit, Krishna conscious principles. And they just have to take a step back and, say, okay, let me rethink that. You really, it's a lot of self-analysis. And it is a lot of looking at the anarthas and the motivations and desires and where they're coming from, and then redirecting them. and and also acknowledging where you're at in terms of the needs and where you're at with them. Sometimes just by looking at it, this is a very interesting exercise because most people never think about this, but you start to look at the needs, and if you can identify your top 2 and then even your top 1, and then think, wow, that is not a healthy need for me to have at this point in my life. Certainty is the most important thing to me. I have nothing. I don't have a bank account. I don't have a house. I just live in a little room. So let me make love and connection the most important thing. Let me make love flow through me. And then by making love the most important thing, then I will feel certain because I can give love. And if I'm certain that I can give love, then everything else will come. Or let me decide that I don't need $1 million to feel certain. 1,000 is okay. We can change it, but if we don't know what it is, we can't change it. So it is quite revealing to see where we're at with those needs. Yes,
I think in terms of comparing ourselves to others also, we have to remember that Srila Prabhupada said, when asked what will please him the most, was that you become Krishna conscious, that you love Krishna. So I think that a lot of times we're thinking that, well, this devotee is doing so much for Prabhupada, and we have to understand that we may not have the capability of doing all those things. And so we have to realize what we're capable of doing. We should try to push ourselves a little bit beyond our comfort zone, definitely. But we also have to realize that there may be restrictions, physical, spiritual, mental capabilities that we just don't have to do those things. And so, like this, like the squirrel or the spider or whatever that was throwing in the grains of sand, and that whole story. So.
Mm-hmm.
We just get this is a sequel to this. So we were doing a workshop on ego and humility, and then just spontaneously I came up with the mantra, "It's okay to be me." And that kind of became the theme of the whole workshop. So during a break, the devotee goes, come here, look at this. And he was on a nursery school site, and the nursery school site had said one of the lessons was, it's okay to be me. So, a lot of what we're learning, we already learned in nursery school. We just didn't get it, I was going to write the book, and someone else wrote it. Everything I needed to know, I learned in nursery school. Kindergarten, yeah. I was going to write the book because after teaching self-development, I realized this was all the stuff we were talking. Share, be nice, be kind, don't make up stories.
Just wanted to ask you if you could elaborate on how getting more titles could be a negative way to achieving significance.
Yeah, it's just by having more titles to show people, it's kind of just being proud. You're not getting the title to use it, to be useful in service. It's just to have it. You can put it up on your wall so that when people come into your office, they'll be more impressed.
Yeah, but per se, getting more titles is not a bad thing. If you're an engineer and you want to become a doctor,
no,
it's not a bad thing.
No.
To be thriving.
It's what you do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your intention in achieving it? Yeah. For me, the quintessential person in this particular time, when I think of significance and an unhealthy emblem, the crown jewel of unhealthy significance would be Donald Trump. So you just think of him. You got like the or another person comes to my mind is, like terrorists, like Osama bin Laden, or people. They had such a need for significance that he was willing to destroy an entire civilization. That's such an unhealthy need for significance. And a lot of people have it, and a lot of devotees have it too. I don't know if a lot, but I know some. I know this. Yes?
Question is narcissism? What is it?
Narcissism.
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 Isn't that sort of the quintessent perversion of the need for significance? And, there's an epidemic of it being perceived due to Facebook. specifically. You can read about it. There's books
Okay,
about it.
yeah.
That people are becoming so narcissistic because they have to not only see themselves but show themselves in this impossible ideal situation to everybody, and the amount of likes they receive for that artificial presentation of themselves is actually the reward that they're looking for.
Right. Every time you see a like, happy hormones enter your bloodstream. It's true. All the happy hormones that are the same as when you get high on heroin and other drugs. You get, oxytocin, you get the same kind of hormones flowing through your body when you get a like. So it's a kind of an addiction. And yes, definitely. Yeah.
So should we delete Facebook?
Who said that? I don't think so, but I don't know.
Or is there a way
That's a very personalized answer. I mean, I think everybody has an opinion on that. It depends what you use it for, how you use it, how often you use it. It can be dangerous, for sure. Especially. Right. So it's a great platform for preaching. I agree. I think you can reach a lot of people to attend Krishna conscious events that you could not reach. But there's also the danger that it becomes your way of meeting certainty, or your way of meeting uncertainty, or your way of meeting significance, and you spend too much time on the internet, pumping up those happy hormones when you could be chanting the Maha Mantra. So it is a fine line for sure. And it's not going to be deleted. So even if we decide we're going to delete it, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to stop. So it's,
Like the rest of the material civilization.
Yeah, we have to stay up with them. Well, I think what you said. It's increasing our platform to share Krishna consciousness, so we just do that.
Everything disconnected to Krishna can be reconnected to Krishna.
Exactly.
There's a facility to gossip, filthy gossip. That's the problem. Any facility you create for gossip increases gossip.
And I'm sure internet has gone exponential on that. Used to be the neighbors gossiping, now half the world are fighting.
Therefore, we need farm communities. Yes, Shrutikirti Prabhu.
Did someone mention just now the telex or no?
I was watching
Because that was twice presented to Prabhupada. I know once I was with him in Los Angeles, and Karandar, the number 2 man, Prabhupada, we can set up telex, one here, one in Paris, one in London. We can have instant communication, instantaneous. Without a second thought, Prabhupada said, you'll just use for gossip. That was never established a telex machine. Yeah.
Yes.
Facebook is telex on steroids.
Now it's you have to type it, it was slow.
Not like that. It's like this.
I don't like to interrupt people, but anyway, I just regarding narcissism, I saw written on a chalkboard in New York, some street wisdom: you've mastered the selfie, now master the self.
That's a good one. Thank you. All right, so should we move? Yeah, moving right along. We'll go to the next need. Okay, so love and connection. Everyone needs connection with other human beings, and everyone strives for and hopes for love. An infant needs to be loved and cared for if it is to develop. Infants who are not held and touched will die. This need for love continues throughout our lives, epitomized in this day and age by romantic love. Not everyone experiences romantic love, but every human must have connection. We need communities. Complete isolation is unnatural and unbearable. Code words for love and connection. Togetherness, unity, warmth, closeness, tenderness, communication, openness, confidentiality, Sangha. Positive ways to fulfill the need for love and connection. Being social, taking care of family well, being helpful, courteous, and kind, being with supportive and non-judgmental people. Connect with a passion, music, art, writing. Have strong sadhana, connect to God. Negative ways to fulfill the need for love and connection. Having unmanageable problems, this causes us to receive attention from others. Depression helps you connect with yourself by feeling sorry for yourself. Staying in a healthy relationship out of fear of being alone. So we can discuss this a little bit. I'll just start by saying that in traditional cultures, this need for romantic love was pretty much not existent, you know. And over the generations and over the centuries, this has become like the pinnacle of what a person needs. So what previously God fulfilled in a person's needs and desire, now people want another person to fulfill that need. They want the soulmate. And previously God was the soulmate. But now we want another human being to be the soulmate. And first of all, it's not possible. But second of all, it just sends people on crazy rides and trying to achieve crazy things that they can't achieve. And then people who don't have that feel like they're missing out on something. But in previous cultures, connection was love. It was love of the community. And now it's just a different world, and it's much harder to feel satisfied in our relationships, in our connections, and the word love has become something elusive that we can't actually have anymore with other human beings. So just wanted to say that. But I'm going to open it up to comments and questions for positive and negative ways. Comments, questions, whatever, positive and negative. Yes, Lakshmi.
In modern society, love often becomes equated with sex.
Yeah.
And so people look for sex thinking it's going to satisfy their need for love. Especially in women, that's the case. It's less the case for men. Men look to sex as a kind of a gratification of their bodily need, and women tend to consider that if they have sex with somebody, it means that they love them.
Mm-hmm. That's
true. And so
true.
women try to find love by engaging in sex and get very disappointed because it's not the same thing.
I just have a comment to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
You had a point earlier about making things more positive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a situation where you notice someone doing that and they're important to you, is there any positive way to hey, let's talk about, hey, don't you like being loved? Like, is there a way to do that? To make the person realize that the compulsive sex they're having is not making them feel loved? Is there a way to make them realize that in a positive way?
I think Mataji's going to answer that question.
I want to just tell a story of an experience that I had when I was teaching in Radhadesh. And there was one gentleman who was becoming a devotee at an older age. He was 68 or something. And he had been married for 35, 40 years. And his wife wasn't so much interested in Krishna consciousness. So he wanted to follow the four regulative principles. And she considered that now he didn't love her anymore because one of the four regulative principles precluded love. So what he did was he started to do things with her, go for walks, buy her flowers, talk to her about stuff. And he announced to our class after some time that his wife had told him that she felt more love now than she had ever before, that she realized that she had misunderstood what love was, and now she actually was getting to know this person. They'd been married for 30 plus years. So there are better ways to show affection.
That's the perfect answer. In the counseling that we do, we look at a relationship as like a house. And on the side walls of the house, you could say, are trust and commitment. And then the house actually has 7 floors. And each floor is building on the foundation. And they don't have much to do. I mean, there's physical intimacy in there, but it's not the essence or the core or the crux or the important part of the foundation of the house. It's things like what Lakshmimoni Mataji is talking about. It's about respecting each other and serving each other and learning about what each other's likes and dislikes are and having a common goal and creating dreams and working towards those dreams. And there's so many nuances and different ways to be intimate with your partner that have nothing to do with physicality, that are so much more satisfying than the physical aspect. When you understand a person's heart and their mind, it's way better. So yeah, that's what we try and help people do. Yeah, it's a mature understanding.
Can I share something about depression?
Yes.
So I went into this training in my job about first aid in mental health. So let's say you're leaving work at 4 o'clock and somebody's coming to your office crying because they lost their job, they're about to commit suicide and all that. So they're training people to react appropriately when they see mental health illness in the workplace. So that training changed my way of looking at depression and anxiety. So my understanding from depression doesn't mean necessarily that somebody is using that as a way to get connection. So I just wanted to bring that up.
It's a good point. So what we're talking about here, and thank you for clarifying that, is that, see, there's this idea that if you don't have, because some people are clinically depressed, and they have to be under psychiatric guidance and care and treatment. But there's another kind of depression, and we all throw that word around all the time. Oh, I feel so depressed. Oh, that's so depressing. I don't know, I'm just kind of depressed today. People who don't have psychiatric conditions, we throw that word around a lot. And what I've learned in my trainings is that sometimes we do depression, we do sadness, we inflict that upon ourselves, and when we get in that space, we don't know how to get out of it. Or it becomes like a figure 8, where you just kind of go back and forth between negative emotions, anger, depression, or going down a rabbit hole. I'm just giving you images, rabbit holes or figure 8s. Like you're stuck and you don't know how to get out of it, but at the same time you're causing it or creating it. And so that's the kind of depression that we're referring to here. So just like you can do depression, you can do happiness. You can do gratitude. You can do a lot of other things, and there are ways, there are exercises, there are activities to break you from that physiological pattern of depression or whatever it is, and take you to another physiological state, if you will, of these more healthy and positive experiences. And the thing is, the depression, again, see, sometimes one vehicle meets more than one need. So let's use depression here, but we're talking about, your garden variety of depression, not serious psychiatric depression. You can meet the need for connection, right? Because you're connecting with yourself. You can meet the need for certainty, because when you get into that state, you're going to feel a certain way, and it's almost like a painful comfort. So there are vehicles, both positive and negative, that can meet more than one need at a time. So that's very interesting to see patterns that you may be using in your life, taking one vehicle and meeting various needs with that.
Can you give an example of that, please?
Okay, like depression.
We have 2 minutes now.
Oh my God, okay. Yeah. No, that's one right there. Okay, I'm thinking of all negative ones, which isn't a good thing, but I'm thinking of like, because these are things I learned in my training. So, like taking drugs, you can meet variety and you can meet certainty all at the same time. Because you know you're going to feel different by taking a drug, right? So that's variety. Or that's certainty, because you know you can be sure that you're going to feel different than you're feeling now. But you don't know exactly how you're going to feel because it's a drug, so then you meet variety, and you don't know how you're going to respond to it and what you're going to do and where you're going to go. And then you can also meet connection because you're kind of connecting with yourself in a very perverted way. So that, of course, would be a negative example. I'm not coming up with a positive one, but yes, Krishna. Yes.
You're feeling significant. You're what you've done is man in this town today. Everybody else is chanting up there, and you feel connection. You feel significance. You feel variety.
That's beautiful. You connect with yourself. You connect with Krishna. You connect with others. You feel significant. You're making a huge difference, and there's so much variety.
All 6 human needs are.
Yeah. So. Exactly. Well, the last one, which we'll get to tomorrow, contribution, all 6 are contained within that. And so basically, to answer your question, practically any Krishna conscious activity, but especially the ones where we go out and share Krishna consciousness with other people, you're under the umbrella. Everything's covered in the most positive and transcendental way. Thank you, Krishna Kripa, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so this is the feedback of, I don't know her name, but she spoke about the depression, and so I was wondering, because early on, I wanted to say that let's say some people are born bipolar or, just anything for that matter. Is that a result of past karma? In a way, like bad habits and...
I don't want to answer that. Let's put that out to the senior Vaishnavas there. I just know that people who have bipolar disorder should definitely be under care and should definitely, be taking care of that in a very serious way and not just, hoping it goes away. So that would be my only response. But
any
please.
Physical or mental condition practically that anybody has is due to their past karma. I worked at a sick children's hospital, and I saw so many kids who were born with defective hearts. It's due to their bad karma. They spend 6 months attached to a breathing machine with tubes coming out of every orifice and needles in arms and legs and feet and heads, and they're lying there for months on end sometimes. We're just trying to keep them alive, and that's bad karma from. If it wasn't karma, would there be a God who would do that to somebody? No. So it's definitely due to bad karma.
Thank you. So I think we have to end now, but hopefully everybody will come back tomorrow, and then we can discuss growth and contribution. And we can also have a little time for you to have some self-reflection work and figuring out, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are your needs being met, and what are your top 2 needs, and how are they getting met? And if not, do you need to make an adjustment in your life that's more practical and more in alignment with where you're at in your life phase, so that you can feel more complete and satisfied and in alignment with your needs?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
needs, are the needs connected with life phases in some kind of predictable way, or is it just individual?
Mm-hmm. Yes, to some degree, definitely. The need for a child for certainty is going to be much greater than a need for a, elder senior person who's winding down. Or the need for significance is probably going to be greater. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me put it this way. They're going to vary depending on your life phase. So let's say in somebody who's in family life, they're going to need a lot of significance from their family members. That's how they're going to meet not only significance, but loving connection and certainty just by the people that you live with, your family members. You're going to get so many needs met. Whereas somebody who is in a more, winding down, renounced phase of life, the way they get that is going to be totally different. So it really, life phase does have a big part of it, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.